California is one of the most beautiful states in the United States. The Golden States, famous for beautiful beaches, the healthy California lifestyle, and the California dream. Since the early days of this nation, the cry was, "Go west, young man." People headed west for the opportunity and rich land California had to offer. Back then, it was gold and silver. Then Hollywood was born and Los Angeles became the entertainment capital of the world. Then Silicon Valley erupted as the tech companies decided to call California home. So many came here to be part of the California dream and the healthy, free-spirited California lifestyle that its population doubled every couple of decades. California became the fifth largest economy in the world. Then the scars of socialism began to appear. The tents of the homeless began appearing on the streets. At first, it was only in the inner cities. Then the tents of the homeless began to erupt on the bridges and underpasses throughout the cities. Eventually, the homeless began to appear in the upscale residential neighborhoods as well. Today, many Californians step out of a $4,000 a month apartment and into a homeless encampment that's erupted in their front yard. And by the way, did we mention that California housing costs are double that of the rest of the nation? Socialism promises equality for all. That's a lie. Decades of socialistic programs gave California the highest income inequality in the nation. 1 in 4 Californians live in poverty. And while California is home to only 12% of the nation's population, it has 34% of the nation's welfare recipients. The homeless population in California alone is now greater than the remaining 49 states combined. In 2020, it's difficult to find a neighborhood in Los Angeles or San Francisco where the sidewalks aren't littered with the tents, trash, and human waste of the wretched homeless. The myth that the homeless became that way because they were mentally ill or drug addicted is just that, a myth. Per Union Station Homeless Services in Pasadena, 75% of the homeless on its streets were squeezed out by skyrocketing rents and falling wages. The drug addiction and mental illness set in after they ended up on the streets. California's homeless problem began in the 80s. This is the same time the ratio of Democrats to Republicans in California became so predominantly Democratic that it's now considered a one-party state. As the democratic socialistic programs increased, so did economic disparity and the number of homeless on the streets. This was solved by creating more of the same programs that created the problem in the first place. Like a cancer, socialism chewed its way through the Golden State until the California dream became a nightmare. California now more closely resembles Venezuela or another third world country than one of the United States. California was the first state to shut down businesses and order residents to stay at home during the epidemic. It's also been the slowest to reopen. Thanks to the massive unemployment created by the lockdowns, California's homeless population has exploded in 2020, and it's expected to double by the end of the year. California is in the late stages of a collision course with total disaster. As California's socialistic programs have increased the tax burden on its residents, the lockdowns have forced millions of Californians out of work and thousands of businesses to permanently close their doors. It's a vicious circle. This created a massive loss of tax revenue for the state. It's currently trying to solve the budget shortfall with hefty new taxes at a time when Californians can least afford them. More of those who can are leaving California, and more of those that remain are going to end up on the streets. Socialism and communism are based on the works of Karl Marx, or Marxism. The premise is that you take from those that have and you give to those that do not. The problem is when one is not allowed to enjoy the fruits of his own labor, he soon stops producing and the entire society fails. Corruption replaces ingenuity, innovation, and fair exchange of value for value. The basic needs of the society, food, clothing, shelter, energy, transportation, are no longer met. When once prosperous nations such as Cuba and Venezuela were overcome by socialism, the lucky ones were able to escape the poverty and loss of freedom by coming to America. But what happens when the socialism that's destroyed California spreads across the rest of the United States? There will be nowhere to run to. Which will it be? Do we want freedom? Or do we want free stuff? Will we allow the cancer of socialism to spread? Or learn to identify it and cut it out when it rears its head? And if we allow freedom to be lost, will we ever win it back again?